All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like it back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
All right, friends and neighbors, here we go. End of the week. How about it? Man, made it all the way to Friday. It's Friday, October 23rd. Here we are with you, the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to talking to you about the issues of the day. Well, all those House Republicans, they tried really, really, really hard to destroy Hillary Clinton. They started at 10 o'clock yesterday morning. They dragged it out until 9 o'clock last night. And at the end of it, they didn't lay a finger on Hillary Clinton. She was superb. She was calm. She was collected. She knew her stuff. She didn't get rattled. But yesterday's hearing, you've got to admit, was a total disgrace from beginning to end, an outrageous display of arrogance and hostility and boorish behavior and pure ignorance on the part of those House Republicans. Shame on them. And the result was, after it was over, even the chairman, Trey Gowdy, admitted they found absolutely nothing new, nothing they didn't already know. It was all about trying to, again, to destroy Hillary Clinton's candidacy. She walked away with her head held high. They walked away looking like total fools. In other news, there was no other news yesterday. Well, actually, only one other thing. Paul Ryan finally said, okay, I've got all the votes I need. I am definitely going to run for Speaker. Mark my words, this is a decision he is going to regret because the Tea Party will destroy him the same way they destroyed John Boehner and Kevin McCarthy. Lots to talk about today. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, Friday edition of The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Congratulations, Trey Gowdy. You just elected Hillary Clinton the next president of the United States. Hello, everybody. What do you say? Do you know what day it is? It's Friday. Damn straight. It's Friday, October 23rd. And at least when I'm here, Friday is our favorite day around the Bill Press Show. Whoa! What am I doing here on Friday, anyhow?
Hey, Peter.
Nice work in there, Jamie.
All right. He's got it, man. Yeah. Maybe he's got it down. He passed the test.
Yeah.
The audition
Hey,
is...
1 out of 3 is not bad. If this was baseball, he'd be doing just fine.
All right, we got it. Hey, good to see you today, Friday, October 23rd. It's a big day here on the Bill Press Show. Big day in Washington, D.C. Yes, in case you haven't checked your TV this morning, the hearing is still going on. Yes, right.
We've been here all night, man.
Hillary and Elijah Cummings are the only ones still awake. All the rest are sleeping at their desks, but they refuse to go home until she surrenders. They refuse to go home.
That's the goal.
Until she says, "All right, I admit it. I planned the terrorist attack. I ordered them to attack our consulate.
Yeah.
I gave them the security code so they could get in." That's what they're waiting for, and then they will finally go home. What a disaster that was for the Republicans. What a triumph for Hillary Clinton. Again, great to see you today. Thank you for joining us. We're here with you on your local progressive talk radio station. We're doing the radio and we're doing TV this morning on Free Speech TV. Wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours, we're there with you, and you are here with us. And so here we go. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And we'll be talking Benghazi all morning long, I think, with the team, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Good morning.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
That was a long hearing, man. That was a lot of Benghazi yesterday.
Can you believe it?
No, I couldn't believe
11 hours.
I couldn't believe it.
11 hours.
Most of that 11 hours, aside from the lunch break, was completely uninterrupted.
Yeah.
It was C-SPAN on all 3 of our TVs up here.
Yeah.
All day long.
Well, but Fox News abandoned it.
Yeah, Fox News did jump ship
later in the day.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, there are more important things like Ben Carson.
That's right.
Ray Rogers is here on the phones. Take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Start now. Get in line. Tell us what you think about that Benghazi hearing yesterday. And here is Cyprian Bolding, our videographer on the job as well. That's why we're looking at you on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. It's hard to say which was the stupidest question, right?
There were a lot of them.
There were a lot of them. Which was the most embarrassing question? But I think Martha Roby gets the prize, right? We'll award her the prize for the lamest question of all. So the night of the attacks, Hillary Clinton, she's at the State Department. She's dealing with all of this, and then she finally goes home, and she's still kind of keeping up with things. But the question is,
who else was at your home? Were you alone?
I was alone, yes.
The whole night?
Well, yes, the whole night.
I don't know why that's funny. I mean,
yeah, I'll tell you why it's funny.
Briefings?
It's fine. What do you think? She was calling the escort over? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I was alone until the masseur arrived.
Good.
Yes.
I don't see why that's so funny. Well, you should get a sense of humor, lady. That's a dumb, silly question to ask.
Yeah. You know what Hillary should have said? None of your damn business. Yeah. None of your damn business was I on the whole night. Well, she also could have said, well, the Secret Service people were in front of my house.
Right.
Can I say the B word?
No, you can't.
All right.
It's Friday.
Don't encourage him.
I almost
What's wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Martha Roby, what a dunce. What a witch. There you go. All right.
It's Halloween. Yeah.
Hey, here we go. Susan Page joins us from USA Today a little bit later this hour. We'll also, Evan McMorris-Santoro, one of our friends of Bill, will be here as a friend of Bill this later in the morning. And then we will have reporters in from Politico, from Huffington Post, from Roll Call, all over the place. And we'll get right to the hearing and get your comments, your calls. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news to skiing, free skiing. I wasn't all that familiar with free skiing, but free skiing is the thing. And the biggest free skier in the world is a man by the name of Gus Kenworthy.
You mean like you don't have to buy a lift ticket?
No, it's like freestyle skiing.
Oh,
yeah, but they call it free skiing. It's an Olympic sport, and Gus Kenworthy is a 24-year-old American. He's the greatest in the world according to the rankings. He is from America. He is also gay. He came out of the closet yesterday with a post on Instagram and said that he's been struggling with anxiety.
Why is that relevant?
Well, it's a big deal. I mean, to have people who are in sports specifically to be able to come out of the closet. He said that he's been struggling with anxiety and depression, and he said that the only thing that he thinks that he should do is come out of the closet and let people know that you can be very, very good at your sport and also still be gay. He wrote those words, "I am gay," on an Instagram post. So congratulations to Gus Kenworthy. I'm sure we'll see him in the Olympics.
Breaking news. He is not the first gay skier.
No, of course not.
I just
of course not.
want to get that out there.
Of course not.
I know for a fact.
To the baseball playoffs. We didn't have any games last night, but this is a good story. This is a good story because the Mets beat the Cubs the other night. As we talked
stop
about.
reminding me.
I know. But listen to this classy move by the Cubs. I like this because David Wright, who plays for the Mets, he's had a tough season. He's played baseball for 12 years in Major League Baseball. He hasn't really been that big of a winner. He's been on some terrible teams. So he's going to the World Series, and as a trophy, the Chicago Cubs gave him the third base, the actual bag, from Wrigley Field. Because, he said, he's a competitor. He's been playing for a long time. He's been a classy guy. They wanted to give him that third base. So as he left, they pulled it up and gave it to him. He got to take it with him.
Good for them.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was nice. They were probably going to get a new base anyway, but still, it's a nice gesture.
Yeah, exactly. It was going to go somewhere. Might as well give it to him. And I mentioned this story a couple years ago. You might remember that Subway, they notably sell their foot-long sandwiches, right? And when I say foot-long, how many inches do you think that is?
11.
Well, that's the problem, because Subway was selling 11-inch sandwiches and calling them foot-long. Somebody actually took them to court and won.
Really?
And Subway has to make sure that if they are selling something called a foot-long sandwich, damn it, it's got to be 12 inches long. In fact, they are having all new training in all of their stores, and they are having protocols to make sure that your foot-long sub is, in fact...
They just ought to have a ruler there.
That's what it is. No, that's exactly what they're doing. You, as a customer, now have the right to ask Subway, show me the ruler and show me that that's 12 inches, and they have to do that. That's part of the settlement that they agreed to.
Or just don't go to Subway.
Or just don't go to Subway and get boiled sandwiches.
I think they're good sandwiches.
No,
like
come on.
Do you? No, I like Subway.
I did.
I like they make the rolls as fresh bread. I think they're good sandwiches, But
someone.
Anybody who buys the foot long is a pig.
That's a lot of sandwich.
Yeah.
But but the point is, like, you buy a foot long, you split it, right? Like, you can split a foot long.
Yeah, not the people that I see buy them.
This is America. What am I thinking?
I can't resist telling this story. It's Friday.
Go ahead.
Because it reminds me of one time. Pink's. Pink's is the best restaurant in Los Angeles.
Hot dogs, man.
No doubt about it. On La Brea Boulevard. So I went. It was just down the street from my TV studio. I went down there one day, and I was waiting in line for my chili dog, right? And the guy ahead of me, there were two construction workers ahead of me, right, in line. Mm. And so the guy says, I'd like 3 chili dogs and 3 cream soda and 3 orders of French fries. And I'm looking, there were 2 guys there, and I thought, well, I guess the third guy must be, like, in the bathroom or something, right, in the men's room, right?
Right.
So, because I was impressed with the order anyhow. So the server, she brings all that stuff, and the guy pays, and then the second guy walks up and he says, I'll take 3 chili dogs and 3 cream sodas. The guy ordered.
Oh, whoa.
I could not believe it. I thought really there were If you ordered 3 chili dogs, there were 3 guys.
people.
It was one guy.
No kidding.
Oh, thank you. I was impressed. Mm-hmm.
Stay away from that guy.
Yeah, it's construction workers, man. They
yeah,
were out
look,
there.
at least they're working it off.
All right. Yes, indeed, they tried. They really, really, really tried hard yesterday to destroy Hillary Clinton. They started, at 10 o'clock in the morning. They finished at 9 o'clock last night. 11 hours with a little lunch break. Unfreaking believable. And I got to tell you, so I was, working at home, had the TV on. I watched the first couple of hours. And then, I had work to do, right? I didn't get to the briefing yesterday because I had a business lunch and then I had a business meeting and it went on. And then I got home and I did some work. And then Carol and I sat down to watch the news at 6:30 and they went to a live shot and they were talking about the hearing. The Republicans are quizzing Hillary Clinton. And I said, wait a minute. Are?
Still?
No, they were. And then I realized, no, they still are. I couldn't believe it. Like I had put in a day's work and I come home and they were still at that hearing. It was just unbelievable. And with all that time, 11 hours, they did not lay a finger on her. I mean, at the end of it, she walked away with her head held high. They walked away looking... They walked away disgraced. I mean, they were desperate. They were hostile. They were arrogant. They were ignorant. And I think Hillary Clinton was calm. She was cool. She was collected. She was informed. She was in charge. And I do believe, actually, trying to destroy her, they set her up beautifully to be the next president of the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, on Inauguration Day, January 17, she ought to turn around and say, thank you, Trey Gowdy and the House Republicans on the Select Committee on Benghazi. Of course,
it reinforced all this crap that people hate about Congress, right? Wasting of time, grandstanding.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, we paid for all those 11 hours.
We paid for all this.
Yeah.
It's pure garbage. It's a good reminder that Hillary Clinton knows what she's doing, right? Like, she has been in that position many times, and she put on a clinic yesterday.
Right. And at the end of the hearing, Trey Gowdy, the chairman, total a-hole.
You could say that.
He said, we didn't learn anything new. He dragged it out that long, and he said, we didn't learn anything new. He started out, of course, saying, we're just here to get to the truth. That's all we want is the truth.
We owe them and each other the truth. The truth about why we were in Libya. The truth about what we were doing in Libya. The truth about the escalating violence in Libya before we were attacked and these 4 men were killed. The truth about requests for additional security.
By the way, he said we had to have this hearing and this committee because all those other 7 investigations and 13 committee hearings and whatever it was, all of them, he said, they didn't do their job. They weren't thorough enough, so that's why we needed this new committee. No. And then, of course, he says, Madam Secretary, don't get the wrong idea. Don't think this is about you.
There are people, frankly, in both parties who have suggested that this investigation is about you. Let me assure you it is not.
Yes. Oh, yes, it is. In fact, Elijah Cummings said that. Why the hell is she here? And why was every other hearing that they had scheduled over the last 18 months canceled except this one?
They also canceled numerous interviews that they had planned with the Defense Department and the CIA officials.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doing that, they said what they were going to do. Republicans zeroed in on Secretary Clinton.
And if I could just jump, Jamie, too, I thought that where the secretary, where Hillary, former secretary, I think the best line of the day when they were trying to show how concerned they were for Ambassador Stevens and kind of paint her as cold and callous and not caring, she said, hey, come on, dudes.
Would imagine I've thought more about what happened than all of you put together.
Slam.
I've lost more sleep than all of you put together. I have been racking my brain about what more could have been done or should have been done.
Score Hillary Clinton. What do you think? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here. Yeah, how'd you like it? What you got for your taxpayer dollars yesterday?
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, absolute disgrace. Hang their head in shame. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Officer, were you the one who arrested me? Gonna shake my hand? So I got invited to host a vigil called Carry the Names. And that's what they were doing, carrying the names of the people who were victims of deadly police force. Michael Brown, Eric Garner, that guy Gurley. I got a motion from Dragonfly from Stop Shopping Choir, and I started preaching. I preached up a storm as best I could, but about a minute and a half into my sermon, the place was flooded with police, Homeland Security, National Guard, state troopers, and I was pushed over and handcuffed so fast, down in the jail, down in the basement. Before you know it, I was out the door, put in prison overnight. The next morning, I'm in court. The same thing happens. I'm just rushed out of there. Then our lawyer, Wiley Steckler, gives me this iPhone. And there, in black and white, in the Gothamist, a popular paper, is this charge by Adam Lisberg, the MTA law enforcement spokesperson for this grand place. His quote is that I, Reverend Billy, physically attacked a police officer. Unbelievable. The feeling of being robbed of my work and life and identity, just the fiction. I did not touch anybody. I did not look. I know how to do this. I'm trained in nonviolence. I did not do anything. It was right here. It was right here. It happened right here. I was simply arrested while I was speaking and taken away, and that's it. The cold feeling in my city, the city that I love, that city spokespersons whose salary I pay for with my taxes, that they would say this. I could just feel the rending apart of the community, that we are not that close. We're not. They are willing to say this, and they think that they can just say anything about anybody and get away with it. So we have something in the Church of Stop Shopping called radical forgiveness. Amen? I forgive the police. We gotta love them too. Cops and bankers love their mothers, but I'll stay radical. Love their brothers. We gotta love them too. But we'll wake up every morning forgiving each other, reaching out, touching, telling stories, having humor, being in a community together, sharing our children, sharing the streets, sharing the climate, being in the city together. But forgiving each other, being grateful to each other, helping each other out, living together, living together. I got a daughter just turned 4. What do we do in the superstore? What do we do with the blood and the gore? The water's rising through our door. Love our children too. Love our children too. Amen. Earth-alleluia.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
the most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour. The big Benghazi hearing yesterday. By the way, we're going to tweet this out to you. The funniest thing I've seen is Mike Huckabee said during the hearing, he tweeted out, the chances of Hillary coming clean on Benghazi are as good a chance as my having a Che Guevara tattoo on the small of my back. Boy, when you say that, you can imagine what that invited. Photoshopped.
Oh, yeah.
And all over the internet this morning are pictures of a naked Mike Huckabee with Che Guevara on his butt, or right above his butt. These photos are so funny. I'm telling you. What did you think about the whole circus? Anything new? Even Trey Gowdy at the end said, we learned nothing new. 11 hours. Ike, our buddy Ike down in North Charleston, South Carolina. What do you say, Ike?
Well, a couple of tongue-in-cheek comments. Number one, I don't think that plastic surgery worked out so well for Barney Fife. That hairdo needs to go, too.
Boy, howdy, Trey Gowdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And I apologize, him coming from South Carolina, but these people are crazy. Beyond that, the other thing, for a minute there, I thought they were taping an episode of Murder, She Wrote. What do you mean, was I at home all night alone?
Yeah.
And lastly, did they ever bring up what improvements were made by cutting the budget for the embassy security?
You know, I was surprised that more Democrats didn't hammer on that, because there were requests to come in, and there were votes, and there were a lot of votes against it on the part of the Republicans. They killed it, right? Should have made more of that. Excellent point, Ike. Anita down in San Antonio, Texas. Hi, Anita.
Good morning.
What do you think?
Bill, I think what Kevin McCarthy meant to say was, we formed this Benghazi committee so we can make Hillary Clinton's poll numbers go up.
Exactly.
And Ben Carson and Donald Trump were just whining about having to debate for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They did get to the truth, though. Those Republicans are a bunch of morons.
Well, we saw that yesterday, that's for sure. Yeah, I love that point. Yeah, they were whining because they had to stand there for 2 hours, and she sat there for 11 hours. Go, Hillary, go. Lots more calls coming up. 866-55-PRESS on Benghazi here.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I see dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour of the Bill Press Show, indeed, here on your local progressive talk radio station, coast to coast, and on Free Speech TV. And by the way, before this day is out, I'm going to end up in Eureka, California. Very, very excited. Look forward to seeing all of you out there listening on KGOE in Eureka. And Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock at the Sequoia Conference Center, we're going to be talking politics, California politics, and national politics, of course. So come on down, say hello. It'll be fun to see you. And for tickets, you can call. It's a little fundraiser for the Humboldt County Libraries. Very, very important. Call 707-269-1991. Or just go to HumboldtCountyLibraryFoundation.org. HumboldtCountyLibraryFoundation.org. Sign up and come on down. Say hello, 2 o'clock on Saturday. Also, before we get back here to Hillary, breaking news. This could be even bigger than Joe Biden saying he is not going to run in terms of its impact on the Democratic primary. Yes.
An earthquake, shockwaves to the political community.
Lincoln Chafee has announced that he is going to make a statement at noon, a speech he's giving to a Democratic Women's Leadership Forum. At noon, he will have something to say about the future of his campaign, which has a total of $15,000 in the bank. Raised a total. They don't have that much left in the bank.
You're being generous.
By the time he buys his ticket to come down here to see the Women's Leadership Forum, there'll be, I'm sure it'll be on Southwest Airlines, but there'll still be a lot less money in the bank.
How would you like it? How would you like it if you were on Southwest Airlines and you just go and you sit down next to Link Chafee? First of all, that would assume that you would recognize who Link Chafee is. But like you're sitting next to one of the presidential candidates.
I know Link Chafee. I've talked to Link Chafee. He's a nice man.
Sure. Oh, yeah, of
You'd
course.
have a nice conversation, but you would not be talking to the next president of the United States. At any rate, Bernie Sanders has raised, last time I checked, $41.5 million. Lincoln Chafee raised $15,000. So I think we know what he's going to say at noon today. There we go. And on the hearing yesterday, just watching these guys. I mean, I told you yesterday they would not be able to contain themselves. They would not be able to help themselves. And it started out with this Peter Roskam from Illinois, who starts asking the very first question of the hearing after the opening statements. He asks her, and he said, and she was reaching just for her, her notes or something. All right, I'll stop. And I'll wait while you read your staff notes.
That was amazing.
I mean, he just started out on that tone. Over at Think Progress, our good friend Igor Volsky, our good friend of Bill, Igor Volsky, who is here almost as much as I am. It seems he put together a little montage of the rudeness and the mansplaining. They feel they have to mansplain to Hillary Clinton. Not that she's not smarter than all the rest of them combined.
They report to you, and you're the chief diplomat of the United States. Go ahead and read the note if you need to.
Oh. Yeah.
I have to.
I'm not done with my question. I'm just giving you the courtesy of reading your notes.
That's all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me share with you my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to take a time to read a note, I'm happy to pause.
Oh, God.
And I can pause while you're reading your notes from your staff. Well, go ahead. You finish reading, and I'll start talking.
Madam Secretary, I talk a little slower than everybody else, so
I lived in Arkansas a long time.
Yeah,
I don't need an interpreter, Congressman.
Imagine you're in a meeting at work, and you're at a round table with all your coworkers,
Yeah.
and you're
And you treat a woman that
brainstorming,
way.
and there's a woman in there, and you say, I'll wait while you read your notes so we can continue.
Yeah.
Like, would you ever in a million years say that to a man that was up there? No.
So you're in the meeting and say, I'm sorry. Do you want me to explain this to you? Because I realize that you are a woman and you're a little slower than we are, and so you may not understand exactly what we're saying. So shall we take it a little on?
Oh, I'm sorry, Angel. I didn't know you were still reading your notes there. I'll slow down.
Whoa. And that's
jerk.
Wait, and they did this on national television, and they think it did them some good. I'm telling you. She should pay them or claim that as a campaign contribution. Judy, it's down in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Hi.
What do you think?
Oh, that show yesterday was awesome. It was reality TV on steroids.
Yes.
I have never seen anything like that in my life. And for Hillary to sit there and calmly take it and she was in a pack of attack dogs, and they kept coming at her, and they finally, because it was brought to their attention that, hey, you guys are picking on a woman, they send in an attack woman. And she ate her lunch.
She really did.
She did. That Martha Roby, she's a dumb woman. Yeah.
Oh, my God. I thought, we've got to put this on television as a required viewing because it was hilarious. And it was, for a debate show, reality,
Judy, I have the impression that you watched all 11 hours.
I couldn't hang up.
Wow. You deserve an award for that.
You and Hillary, man.
Man.
Iron Pants.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Hey, Judy, it's so good to hear from you.
By the way,
proud of her former First Lady of Arkansas.
I was going to say, McLaurin's Barbecue in Hot Springs, Arkansas, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, Judy knows what
Too
I'm
bad
talking
Judy's
about.
gone now. Okay. Out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hello, Paul. Your chance.
Bill,
Hi.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
All right. We love that. Yeah, welcome.
I'm calling from Walkerstan.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, I watched a little bit of that in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, and then I came home after some conferences, teacher conferences, and it was 8 o'clock or 8:15 at night, Central Time, and I turned on and I said, oh, my God.
Yeah.
He's still on.
They were still going. That's the same thing happened to me.
They're still interrogating her. So here we have a leading candidate for president who was subjected to 11 hours of interrogation. That woman is ready to be president.
Listen, I agree. I agree. I mean, it had just the opposite effect of what they intended, that hearing, right? Because obviously they set up the whole committee to try to destroy her candidacy. They made her candidacy yesterday, Paul.
She was unbelievable.
Yeah. By the way, while you were talking, it just occurred to me, can you imagine any one of the Republican candidates sitting there and, number one, taking it that long, and number two, being able to handle it so well?
would have loved to have seen Scott Walker up there.
Yeah, right. I'd like to see Scott Walker anywhere but governor of Wisconsin.
I just had a horrible thought.
Imagine Ben Carson.
I was going to say, could you imagine Ben Carson for 11 hours? Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
Well, first of all, he would have been asleep.
Yes, exactly.
Because he's always
Dr. Carson.
He's always on the
Dr.
edge,
Carson?
on the edge of sleepiness. By the way, Jamie, we've got this. This was Ben Carson's contribution yesterday during the hearing, right? While the hearing is taking place. So he's on Fox News Radio with John Gibson. And Gibson asked him the question, now we know Joe Biden pulled out yesterday, but which of the two, Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, would you rather run against, right? So again, the hearing is on. Here's Ben Carson's take.
Because, Hillary could well be in jail, and it's hard to run from that.
Yeah, he'd rather run against Joe Biden because Hillary would probably be in jail, and it's hard to run against somebody who's in jail. But of course, like Donald Trump, we're used to the outrageous things said by Ben Carson, and he'll get away with it.
Yeah,
it won't mean anything.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yesterday's hearing showed, again, I know we're making the same point over and over, but the Republicans set it up that way. Yesterday's hearing did not show that she'll be in jail. It showed that she's most likely to be in the Oval Office.
That's the thing. I mean, she did a really, really, really good job yesterday. She really did, and it reminded me of all the BS that she's had to deal with since she's come into the public light. But as good as she did, the good that comes out of this is going to be because of how bad the Republicans were.
Total. This committee had the exact opposite impact of what they intended.
Yep.
Headline in Huffington Post this morning, Benghazi bust. Headline in The Hill this morning, Clinton largely unscathed by GOP Benghazi hearing. Susan Page, I'm sure she watched all 11 hours as well. She is standing by USA Today. We'll talk to her next, and more calls throughout the morning at 866-55-PRESS on yesterday's big Benghazi bust.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
I am your toilet. So how do you do? I take away your wee and the odd number 2. For a quiet moment, I'll always be there, bringing you troubles. You don't even have to care. Oh, think about the things you put me through. Things you put me through that I've been through you. Stuff from your body I'll happily take. Liquid or solid, whatever you make. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. If I wasn't there anymore, you can only imagine disaster. I am a lifesaver, and that is not a lie. Where I don't exist, thousands die. So next time you have to do a poo or a wee, thank the sanitary saints that you have me. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. La 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 la. It's time to say thank you to your Lou.
It's on us to stop sexual assault. to get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault. Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go at 13 minutes before the top of the hour. It was the longest and perhaps the least productive congressional hearing in memory. And you know what? I got to admire the fact that Susan Page sat down at her desk at 10 o'clock yesterday morning in front of the TV, and she never got up until 9 o'clock last night.
That's dedication.
I know that from an inside source.
That's dedication.
Right. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief, USA Today, co-host of Capital Download on WUSA 9 on Sundays here at 8:30 a.m. Hello, Susan.
Hello, Bill.
So I know you interviewed Donald Trump this week, so I want to put the two of them together. Can you imagine Donald Trump sitting there for 11 hours and taking that abuse?
And not, as a general, raising his voice or taking the bait? No.
Right. Yeah.
I cannot imagine that.
What a contrast, right? All right, so overall, did the Republicans achieve their goal yesterday?
I think they did not, because there were neither some great disclosure of something that we didn't know before, nor was there a moment when Hillary Clinton really lost her cool in a way that could make it say a nice attack ad.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think if those were two of the things that some Republicans were hoping for, they didn't really get either one of them.
It seemed to me if the goal were to derail her candidacy, they may have done just the opposite.
And
right?
in fact, what a great 10 days or so it's been for Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
Between the first debate, the Benghazi testimony, and, of course, Joe Biden's decision.
Right.
I mean, 3 big moments. Not that her path is totally without rocks ahead, but the path has certainly been smooth to get the nomination.
What she needs now is for the FBI to say that they have dropped their investigation because there's nothing there. You know, that's a little cloud that's everybody kind of points to.
Yes, and there'll be others. Things will happen.
Oh, yes.
But
because she's a Clinton.
But you know what? Look at this 2 weeks ago. She's in a much stronger position than she was just 2 weeks ago.
It does make you wonder about the thinking of why we need a select committee on Benghazi. You know, why take all this time? Why have that hearing? And why drag it on so long?
Well, you can certainly make that argument. Although I would say the one thing that you can say has come out of the Benghazi committee is the whole email story.
Yes.
You know, they were key in making. That's been damaging for her, no question about it. So if your purposes were political, of course, the chairman says they aren't political, but if your purposes were political, you did succeed in unearthing that amazing fact.
Now, Trey Gowdy at the end of the evening said he had to admit that there was they came up with really no new evidence. So what do they do now, do you think, Susan? I mean, did they fold their tent?
You know, that was an amazing exchange at the news conference after the hearing ended. Trey Gowdy stood there. What was the most important thing you learned? And he couldn't think of anything. So that was pretty damning. He's lucky that was late in the day when everyone was so exhausted that people's eyes had were drooping.
All right. So tell us about Donald Trump, the Donald.
So he's feeling good. He loves reading the polls that have him on top. His problem at the moment is that these 2 new Iowa polls, including one that just came out within the hour, that shows Ben Carson leading in Iowa. And this is very consistent with a focus group in Indianapolis that I watched this week that Peter Hart was doing for the Annenberg Center at the University of Pennsylvania, where Republican voters really like the outsiders, including Trump, but they were heading to Carson because they worried that Donald was just too hot.
No kidding. Wow. I would say that Carson is too cool or too cold.
Or too unlikely. He's a retired pediatric neurosurgeon. I mean, at least Donald Trump has been kind of engaged in the political debate in the past. So I think it's hard to imagine Ben Carson as the nominee, but the fact that Trump's biggest challenger is not, say, George Bush or John Kasich.
Isn't that amazing?
Or Marco Rubio. It's Ben Carson. That tells you how much Republican voters want an outsider this year.
Did you get the sense that Trump is in this to the end?
Yes.
Right? He's in to stay. Yeah.
I think he's in to stay, and I think I think it's actually been easier than he thought it would be to run for president. And he noted this. He said that he thought that at this point he would have spent $20 to $25 million of his own money on ads. And so far, he's spent $0 on ads, but although he's prepared to do that. So I think that he is slightly surprised that he's doing so well. And he also told me that he thought he needed to. He said he did need to tone things down a little bit, tone down his rhetoric a little bit, because he recognized that some voters think he goes too far.
Does he? Is there any sense that they are thinking about substance, thinking about policy issues? So far, he's gotten pretty far, right, with just bombast.
He does not seem to be a guy who's going to give you a 14-point plan for how to do what challenges in the world. But as he says, things are working pretty well. You don't want to change something that's working. This was not an interview that dealt in depth with what he would do as president. We talked a little about being commander-in-chief. That's been a line of attack from Jeb Bush, that he doesn't have the qualifications to be, or the demeanor to be commander-in-chief. But he said, try to imagine, he scoffed at the idea of Jeb Bush negotiating with Putin, and said that he was a guy who had the leadership skills that were really the fundamental characteristic of a good commander-in-chief. So I guess we'll see if Americans are persuaded by that argument.
Now, I have to ask you, you probably have seen that Lincoln Chafee is going to make a big announcement at noon today about the future of his campaign. This could be as big as Joe Biden's announcement, Susan.
Yeah, man, isn't it interesting how this field is clearing out? Because I assume Lincoln Chafee is folding his tin, as Jim Webb has done, which just leaves 3 candidates, and one of them is down in single digits, Martin O'Malley. So it's really being defined as a Hillary versus Bernie race.
It is, right? The next debate. But I don't think Martin O'Malley's going to drop out, right? Until
nor should he, because as the field gets narrower, his possibilities get bigger.
Sure. Right. But it'll be the 3 of them on stage.
Amazing. Right? And meanwhile, you still have 10 people on stage next week at the next Republican debate.
October 28th. Oh man, I'll tell you, this is our time. We live for days like this. Susan.
It is nice to be a journalist.
It is indeed, and nice to have you on the show as always. Thanks so much, Susan.
Hey, thank you,
Have
Bill.
a great weekend.
You too.
All right, Susan Page, USAtoday.com.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now?
Yeah, go ahead. This is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Dean's yelling at me. Help me. Your hands. Help me. Your hands.
Gentlemen, we have a chemical. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can. Hands on your face. Hands on your face. On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Let's get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Pull him out of the room.
We're exfilling, Billy.
Yes, we are exfilling.
It was actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus. And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place. So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
And it's something like it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street.
Depends. I mean,
like
a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And then obviously we're looking for training for anything else that we might be faced with. And that's what's great about Urban Shield is we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, at the top of the next hour, Emma Dumain from Roll Call. She was there at the hearing yesterday. She'll tell us all about it.
Let's carry on with the theme of Hillary Clinton. I told you that she's doing Stephen Colbert's show soon. We also found out yesterday that she is going to be a guest on Jimmy Kimmel Live on ABC. November 5th is when that's going to happen. November 5th.
Yeah.
So it'll be Thursday. It'll be like 2 weeks from yesterday.
2 weeks, right, from yesterday. And on Rachel tonight?
And she's on Rachel Maddow tonight. Yeah, her first interview since the whole Gaza hearing.
All right. Well, I don't know. She may be on Rachel if the hearing's over.
That's a good point.
I mean, you know what I mean?
That's a very, very good point.
Yeah, they could still be a trig out because they'll be like, I want to accomplish something. I want to learn something. Yeah, right. Go back to South Carolina. We'll be back. Emma Dumain from Roll Call.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas, too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got. A lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$7.54. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor's allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for. I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on. Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, to where we're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Congratulations, Trey Gowdy. You have just elected Hillary Clinton the next president of the United States. Yes, that committee achieved just the opposite of what it was intended to achieve. They should have known better, but they don't. Hey, hello, everybody. Here we go. Friday, October 23rd. Great to see you today on the Bill Press Show, and you are part of the show, of course. Appreciate your joining us. So talk about the big news of the day. There's really only one story today, unless you count the fact that Paul Ryan has said, yes, indeed, I've decided I do want to be speaker now. Now that I have all the votes I need, I do want the job. And the rest of the news is all about Benghazi, which we've been covering from every angle so far, and we'll continue to do so. And we want to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Just give us a call, 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/The Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson leading up our team as always.
Hello, Bill.
Happy Friday.
Right. Ray Rogers, ready to take your calls. 866, again, 55-PRESS. Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. He's got the cameras under control and focused, not blurry. Sometimes they, no. Booming out. Good pictures on Free Speech TV.
Heck of a job.
TawkrTV. How about that? So this happened. This is getting a lot of attention online in the social media. A poor guy. His wife is driving. His daughter's in the front seat. He's in the back seat. He's got a pretty big beer belly, and he puts his seatbelt on, but then they stop, and he can't get his seatbelt off. Oh. His wife is trying to help him. His wife is trying to help him. His daughter videotapes the entire thing and puts it up on YouTube.
Look at you. Look.
You look at me. I am stuck in this car.
Car.
We got out of the fire department. Sit back.
Mom, what do you think I'm doing? Laying down? I can't sit back any further, Mom. My whole back's touching the seat.
Move over.
Mom, you're making it tighter and I can't breathe. What's wrong with the seat belt?
It's top of the situation. You gotta calm down. We gotta get through. Can you push his belly out of it?
I told you yesterday the belt was defective, didn't I?
It's your body.
It's so embarrassing.
It's your body.
It's your body. It's your body. Yeah, it's not the belt, it's your body. Oh, God. Mom, he calls her, too. I love that, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm stuck in the car. Wow. I'm
stuck in the car.
Yeah. And the daughter taping the whole thing and then putting it out there for the world.
That's a lot.
All right. We're going to check in with Emma Dumain here at the top of the hour from Roll Call. Evan McMorris-Santoro, friend of Bill, joins us next hour for the entire hour. I'll have reporters in also from Politico and Huffington Post. But first, up to Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. We go to Long Branch, New Jersey, which is where Bruce Springsteen wrote his entire album, Born to Run. He wrote it at 7.5 West End Court. That's the address of the house. And it is up for sale. It's up for sale for a fairly reasonable price. $299,000 is all. Whoa. Now, in 2009, it was bought by 3 hardcore Bruce Springsteen fans.
I'll bet.
And they wanted to turn it into a tribute to Bruce Springsteen. But those plans were derailed. They couldn't get any money to turn it into a museum of sorts. So it's still there. It's still livable. He wrote the entire Born to Run album there, and a lot of history in that house. So you could be yours. $299,000.
Yeah, you would think there'd be some music.
I would think so. That's a pretty historic place. A new study, Bill, from the University of Buffalo, California University, and the University of Texas at Austin. They all chimed in on this study that asked men. 105 men were first read a hypothetical scenario involving a woman who outperformed or underperformed them in math or English courses and then made them imagine them as a romantic partner. In other words, taking smart women
Yeah.
and asking men if they would want to be in a romantic relationship with them. And guess what?
They all said no.
They all said no. Men were terrified of
Yeah.
smart, powerful women. That is the study, as I mentioned, that's been published in The Independent. And so it's men have less desire to try and relate to women who are smarter than them.
No, as we saw yesterday in the Benghazi hearing, they just want to beat them up.
I was going to say, that was a very, very good example of that in action. And this is scary news if you live in Los Angeles. NASA has put out a study saying that they've used radar and GPS to find the likelihood of an earthquake in the L.A. area, and says that there is a 99% chance that an earthquake will rock the city sometime before 2018. Now, when they say an earthquake, they predict that it's going to be an over 5.0 magnitude earthquake. So it could be that or bigger, they're predicting for the L.A. area.
I've been through many earthquakes in Los Angeles and San Francisco, and I'm going to be back in Southern California beginning of next week. So I'll let you know.
Let me know how it looks
if I feel
out there,
any rumbles.
Bill.
Yeah. Thank you. All right.
You got it.
Yep, it was a marathon hearing yesterday. I don't know how anybody could have survived the entire thing, but Hillary Clinton made it through, and so did the members of the committee, and so did members of the Congressional Press Corps, including Roll Call's Emma Dumain, who joins us on our hotline here this morning. Hello, Emma. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Did you hang in there for the entire hearing?
No, actually, you know, I think there was some miscommunication here, Bill, because I was brought on to talk about the speaker's race.
Well, I want to ask you about the speaker's race. I do. I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
I just, I mean, you are a congressional reporter. Have you ever seen a hearing this long or maybe this unproductive?
Yeah, so, the full disclosure is that I was covering other things yesterday and was not in the room, but I know people who were. I've been in that room plenty of times for other hearings. It's a pretty big room, and my understanding was there was not a lot of breathing space for anybody.
Yeah.
It was really packed to the gills, and then thinned out later on, except for the the diehard Benghazi committee fans or enthusiasts or interested parties, spectators. It was an incredibly long hearing, and from the parts that I saw and from the discussions with colleagues, Mrs. Clinton handled it. She was very poised and really never broke her cool.
So what do you?
And that was exactly what Democrats were hoping for and Republicans were fearing.
Exactly right. And again, just before we get to Paul Ryan, which is the other big story up there, so as a congressional correspondent, what do you think the committee, even Trey Gowdy at the end, right? A stunning admission, said they didn't learn anything new. So what do you think now happens to this committee? Do they just carry on, or do they fold their tent? What does your gut tell you?
Well, there was my gut was there was a lot of attention paid to that comment, and people interpreted it as, like you said, this stunning admission, and I'm sure that Democrats and detractors of the committee will call it that. I would be interested to see if Republicans spin it as we didn't learn anything new, that was Hillary Clinton's fault, and we do have to press on.
Yeah. That's probably, you're right. That's probably going to be their take. All right, so Paul Ryan now says, all right, I got all the votes. The Freedom Caucus has sort of met my conditions. Now I really want to be Speaker, right? No doubt that he will be, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen stranger things happen than something that seemed certain falling apart at the last minute. We all saw Kevin McCarthy.
That's right. Happened before. Do you think? Here's what I don't understand. I mean, if the Freedom Caucus really put these demands on John Boehner and exercise that whatever that phrase is, where they can challenge his leadership, and they
vacate the chair,
They vacate the chair, and then they really put the pressure on Kevin McCarthy and kind of eased him out. Are they going to treat Paul Ryan any differently?
That remains to be seen. I think that their major concern this week was continuing to be a force and exercise the leverage that they've attained over the past several months since their founding, and they're still very young. You know, people act like they've been around forever, but they've only had a name for, several months at least. They didn't want to be blamed for creating another period of chaos in the House of Representatives. If it's not Paul Ryan, who else would it be?
There really wasn't any other strong candidate, was there?
There wasn't any other candidate who could really make the case that they could be the Speaker of the House. So it was in their interest, really, to find a way to support him somehow. Whether they'll support him in 2 weeks, I don't know.
Now, Paul Ryan, apparently, and you may have reported this, I've read it somewhere, that he did agree that he is going to abide by the so-called Hastert rule. Is that your understanding as well?
I think that, like Speaker Boehner, that's always the goal, to abide by the Hastert rule. I think that he would not bring up something like immigration reform if it didn't have the majority of Republicans supporting it. I do think that when push comes to shove and you have to fund the government and you have 40 Republicans holding out because it doesn't have certain conservative concessions built in, he's going to have to make a calculation about how they govern. And I suspect he would make a similar calculation as John Boehner, which was to go to Democrats and say, look, guys, we're at an 11th hour in a crisis and we got to do something.
Right. And that's
he's pragmatic like that.
He is pragmatic like that, right. And that's exactly what eventually got John Boehner in trouble. So I just wonder if Paul Ryan's going to maybe, before too long, regret the day that he decided he was willing to take the job after all. Emma Dumain, I know you got to run. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks for your good work on the Hill. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Emma. Emma Dumain from Roll Call, rollcall.com.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see, the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, make it 22 minutes after the hour here on the Bill Press Show. Burgess Everett covers Congress for Politico, joins us at the half hour here in studio. And I want to remind all of our good friends up in Northern California, in Superior, California, actually, we call it. Up in Eureka. I'm going to be there. By the end of the day, a lot of travel, long travel day today, but ending up in Eureka, California, where tomorrow afternoon we're going to have a big political fest at the Sequoia Conference Center. So all of our listeners on KGOE up in the Eureka area, come on down to the Sequoia Conference Center tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock for help raise some funds for the Humboldt County Libraries. You can sign up by giving a call to 707-269-1991 or go online to the Humboldt County Library Foundation.org. Humboldt County Library Foundation.org. Come by and say hello, and we'll have a lot of fun. I haven't been up to Eureka. I used to work for a state senator who covered the Eureka, who's that was our territory. I was Eureka, so I know the city well, but haven't been there in a long time. Looking forward to it. Back on the national political front, big news on both the Republican and the Democratic side. On the Democratic side, you thought Joe Biden's announcement was major news on Wednesday? No.
Shockwave's coming.
Shockwave's coming today at noon.
Earth-shattering.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he has said. Lincoln Chafee tweeted out that he is giving a speech today at the National Women's Democratic Leadership Forum, where he will have a major announcement about the future of his campaign. That's all we know.
What could that mean? Maybe he's going to announce a running mate.
That's right. Joe dropped the other shoe on Wednesday. Lincoln Chafee is going to drop the other slipper today.
Equally as groundbreaking.
Yeah. You're right, Peter. I hadn't thought about that. It could be.
He's going to announce his cabinet.
His cabinet.
His running mate.
It's
unorthodox, but he's an unorthodox candidate. Maybe he's going to do that.
Probably going to say on day one, I will repeal Obamacare. Oh, no, that was Mitt Romney. Right. All right. And also, on the Republican side, big news out of Iowa. We talked to Susan Page, USA Today, a little bit earlier, who had interviewed Donald Trump this week. Well, Donald Trump is now still way ahead in the national polls. He's been number one in the national polls for 105 days or so now. But in Iowa, Donald Trump has been trumped by none other than Ben Carson. That's remarkable for a couple of reasons. Number one, that Ben Carson is number one, but also we knew at some point Donald Trump's going to be in second place or third place or something, and somebody's going to get ahead of Donald Trump. Who would have thought it would be Ben Carson, right? Okay, it's supposed to be Jeb Bush, or it's supposed to be Marco Rubio, right?
Right.
Or it's supposed to be Chris Christie, right? They're down in single digits.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew it was never going to be Rick Santorum or Bobby Jindal or, Rand Paul or whatever. And none of those guys. No. It's Ben Carson, the guy who has zero political experience, zero executive experience, zero foreign policy experience. Has he ever been out of the country even? I mean, I don't even know.
That's a good question.
Has he ever been out of Baltimore before this? I don't know.
I like the Ben Carson thing really does confound me because I think that the Trump tapped into something and I understand it, right?
I do too.
I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
I get Trump. I don't get
I don't
Carson.
get it at all.
No.
I don't get it at all.
So what we're talking about are two polls back to back, one yesterday, one today. I remember, again, I mean, it's important to remind ourselves that polls are nothing but little snapshots at the moment. But two back-to-back respected polls. The Quinnipiac poll yesterday showed Ben Carson 28 in Iowa. This is Iowa, just Iowa for the caucuses. 28 to Donald Trump's 20. And the Des Moines Register, which is always the most accurate poll in Iowa and always has been, this morning, just came out about an hour ago, 28 for Ben Carson again, and 19 for Donald Trump. So, I mean, they're consistent. They're both showing the very, very same thing.
We should point out that someone yesterday tweeted at Donald Trump about how Iowa voters were brain dead, and Donald Trump retweeted that.
He says an intern.
He
now
says it was an
retweeted.
intern, and they have since gotten rid of the retweet, but you know how serious Iowa voters are, man. They don't like that.
No.
not gonna help.
They take themselves very, very seriously.
Very seriously. Too seriously.
I'll tell you what, where I don't trust these numbers at all to this extent. And I've covered the Iowa caucuses. Oh, God, it's such a pain in the ass to cover the Iowa caucuses, but at any rate, because it's cold.
Yeah.
And this caucuses, they have to turn out and they have to go through this whole rigmarole and everything. You need a really, really good ground operation, as we learned with Howard Dean, with all the excitement he had, no ground operation. I don't think Ben Carson has any campaign on the ground at all. So I don't trust that poll. We'll be back with Burgess
This
Everett.
is the
from
Bill
Politico.
Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour, Friday, October 23rd. Can you believe it? Here we are. Made it through another week, Peter. Yeah, God, I'm telling you.
Just about.
All right.
We're halfway to go to today's show.
That's
man.
right. We're not there yet.
I got this up.
At least today's show will not be as long as yesterday's Benghazi hearing.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It was longer than a typical Senate session, or, it was longer than anything Congress does, it seems like.
It was nuts. It was nuts.
Say hello to Burgess Everett here from Politico. He just said hello before he got introduced, but that's fine. That's, we're loose here.
Spontaneous.
Exactly. They were probably in session, the Benghazi hearing, longer than the Senate's been in session this entire year, huh?
I mean, in terms of voting time and stuff like that, it would be several months of Senate work could be crammed into that 11-hour Benghazi hearing.
Right, all right. Again, coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by the International Association of Machinists, the good men and women of the Machinist Union, sharpening America's edge on the global economy. We salute them, thank them for the support of the program under President Tom Buffenbarger, and we do say hello to Burgess Everett from Politico. I'm sure a lot of people had the same experience. I watched a couple of hours yesterday, and then I had to go off and do my day's work, right? I had a big lunch meeting. I had a big meeting down at George Washington University. Got home, doing some other work. Sit down to watch the news at 6:30, and I couldn't believe it. They went live to the hearing, and I said, no, that was a long time ago. Right. No, it was still going on.
It was incredible. I mean, I cover the Senate, so I spent a lot of my day just standing around in the Senate halls hoping for senators to come through, and there were two things that I noticed. One was that I seemed to be the only reporter on the Senate side for the past 2 days. I mean, there were tumbleweeds blowing through the place. And the other thing was each time you come back, you glance at the TV, you can't tell if it's live or not. But each time it was live, she was making the same expression she was making three hours ago. I mean, it was really quite incredible.
Pardon me. And they were asking the same questions.
Right.
So my big question is, it seems clear to me, I mean, Trey Gowdy himself at the end of the hearing, 11 hours, says, we didn't really learn anything new. They asked him, what did you learn new? And he couldn't name one thing. Right. It's a pretty stunning admission. So what do they do now with this whole committee?
I mean, my guess,
they've been at it for 18 months.
My guess is yesterday was the climax of this. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any way this could ever come back in this fashion.
They'll never get her back to testify.
No, and I think that's probably why they kept her for so long. And I imagine you will have Republican operatives watching that entire thing on repeat for the next week or two.
Looking for...
Right. I'm sure there are things that have been missed in how long it was. I mean, that's a ton of material to go through. It wasn't just a 20 or 30-minute hearing where you can parse what she said and quickly create a narrative out of it. I mean, I imagine there's going to be a lot of stuff being litigated over the next month or so, and maybe the biggest admission of the hearing from either side hasn't even really bubbled up yet.
But you know what? Yeah. Let them try. I mean, to me, that'll be another 18 months of wasted effort.
Right.
I think this committee hearing has achieved the exact opposite impact of what it was intended to achieve.
And you have the Clinton operatives, particularly the Correct the Record organization, is essentially doing the same thing, but for the Republicans. I mean, there's an opposition research team going at the Republicans now.
I've been getting their emails.
Right.
We all have all day long.
Right. So, I mean, I got one at 9:15 last night, and it said, 100-something times Republicans interrupted the secretary last night. I mean, that's the kind of pushback you're getting, and I think... when those sides are both hitting each other equally, it gets a little bit harder to tell who won, who lost, et cetera. And people kind of start to tune that out when it just sounds like partisan sniping.
It does. And I say, when the chairman of the committee admits that they didn't learn anything new, I think that he was not certainly, the Republicans were not the big winners last night on that hearing. Talk about big winners in the House. Paul Ryan?
I would say so. I mean, he's come from, oh, guys, I don't know if I want to do this, to, please, let's get some unity, and then I would do this, to, well, it's clear some people are going to vote against him, and he's officially going forward. Yeah. So his reluctance has turned into a hard decision over the past 10 days or so, it appears.
What do you think the chances are? How long is it going to be before he and the Freedom Caucus clash swords?
I don't think it's going to be long at all. I mean, you still have, there's this motion to vacate, which is what essentially drove Boehner out, was this threat hanging over his head that, there could be a rebellion on the floor against his leadership, and he'd need Democrats to save him, and they would make him look weak. And Ryan and the Freedom Caucus have sort of reached a truce on this, but there's no real solution. He kind of wants to water this down, because how can he operate if he has this, political guillotine hanging over his head all the time? And so that really hasn't been resolved yet. But the majority of the Freedom Caucus supports him. And if Boehner is able to especially clear out the debt ceiling and let Paul Ryan maybe quietly vote against it, but not advocate against it, so that he can kind of keep that conservative cred, it would be very helpful for him, because that's the big thing that I think could really upset a lot of people on the right in the House right now.
That's the biggest thing that Boehner could do for Ryan before he leaves.
Right. Because if these budget talks with the White House...
And he's indicated that he sort of is ready and willing to do that, hasn't he? Boehner.
But they had this bill that was kind of loaded up with goodies for the right that would raise the debt ceiling, but also change some Senate rules and hurt the White House's ability to regulate certain things. And the House Republicans are now indicating they're not even going to try to do that. So they don't really have a plan yet. I think at the end of the day, a lot of us expect there's going to be a clean debt ceiling increase, and it kind of just depends on who oversees that at this point and kind of absorbs the criticism.
What do you hear around the building? Did Paul Ryan agree or kind of a pledge to the Freedom Caucus that he would observe the Hastert rule, continue to observe the Hastert rule? We ought to explain. I think everybody now maybe knows, but the Hastert rule is that the Republicans operate under the
majority of the majority.
Majority of the majority, right. So it's sort of the rubric that unless there are enough Republican votes alone, 218, to pass a piece of legislation, it will never come to the floor.
Right. And that's not going to happen, really. I mean, because especially...
What's not going to happen?
The Hastert rule is kind of a fake rule. Like, it's unobservable if you want to keep the government running and things like that.
I would agree, but except with few exceptions, John Boehner stuck to it. That's why there was no vote on immigration reform.
Right. But, the Export-Import Bank, a discharge petition has bubbled that up, and it's going to get a floor vote, and it's going to be opposed by a majority of Republicans, and it's not clear who's going to be the speaker when that happens, but that is going to be a Hastert rule violation.
Yeah.
And I think...
And the debt ceiling has been a Hastert rule violation.
And I think a budget deal, or even if the budget deal falls apart and there's a continuing resolution to keep the government open in December, I think that's probably going to be a Hastert
So
rule
Paul Ryan
violation.
is more of a pragmatist. I mean, he's a conservative. Let's not just paint him as any moderate, right? But he's more of he's a pragmatic conservative.
And I
would
think
you say?
I would say that, and I would also say that the Hastert rule stuff is kind of like, it's an issue that most Americans aren't aware of. A lot of these groups in Washington that try to push House Republicans to the right get very concerned about this, and then so do a few of the members. But I don't get the sense that your average voter really cares about this at all.
Right. No. Or maybe even knows what it is or understands it. So you do cover the Senate. What was the reaction in the Senate when former Senator Joe Biden says, "I ain't running"?
It was a very positive reaction, and it was surprising to me because you usually get a lot of diplomatic statements when you're talking about these sort of personal relationships between senators, former senators. Biden's obviously a former
But positive
senator.
in the sense that they don't like him, or that because they do like him?
It's not that they don't like him, but if he were to run, can you imagine them having to face months of questions about Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Bernie Sanders? I mean, they know all three of these people, and it's just kind of an awkward dynamic already with Bernie Sanders in there, because you'll say, "How's Hillary Clinton doing?" And they always have to throw Bernie a bone because they don't want to annoy him, and they don't want to make him seem like he's insignificant, and that would be even worse if Biden was in.
And they might be forced to take sides.
Right. And really, my expectation was the two Delaware senators. They didn't really make much of a secret about this. They would have endorsed Joe Biden if he were to run, and then
I would hope so. Tom Carper and Chris Coons, particularly Chris Coons,
right,
who took his seat.
And can you imagine? I mean, they would really have been thrust into a prominent role, whether they liked it or not, in terms of defending every one of Biden's moves. I think we would have expected Biden probably would have gotten off message pretty quickly on something, which is kind of the same thing that a lot of us like about him. Is that he's very personable and doesn't seem like a calculating politician a lot of the time, and you would have had a hard time with just these two senators from this very small state defending him, and everybody else was probably going to pile on. I mean, some of Hillary Clinton's defenders in the Senate, people like Claire McCaskill, have made no secret that they're kind of willing to say things to slight their colleagues if they need to. She said that Bernie Sanders is a socialist and can't be elected.
Yeah. I find Claire McCaskill's ardent support for Hillary Clinton interesting, in that she really pissed off Hillary the last time by endorsing Barack Obama.
Right.
Remember?
It does feel a lot like she's trying to make up for that.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. All right, Hillary, you see, I really do love you. Right? I think she was the first one to endorse Hillary this time, wasn't she?
She was among the first, and I talked to Senator McCaskill fairly frequently, and I get the sense that it's truly genuine, that she really legitimately, she isn't just trying to play nice with Hillary. I get the sense that she really wants to go to bat for her. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic there, where you have people like Claire McCaskill who are willing to go out in a hearing and call out the chairman, as happened this week, for kind of messing up an investigation, these sort of things. She really has some strong backing on the Hill.
Prowling the halls of the U.S. Senate every day.
Like a cockroach.
For Politico. Burgess, Everett. They can't escape. And he's here to tell us all about it. 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. You have a question or a comment about anything happening on the Hill, give us a call. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
And online. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, Evan McMorris-Santoro here as a friend to Bill for the next hour, at least in theory. No.
It's always...
Evan has a habit of showing up at the very last minute. Is he here already?
He's not here already.
All right, okay, all right. So
we've already been
So
told
I'm not talking trash about
It's going to be tight.
Oh, is that right?
It's already been established. It's going to be a little tight.
No, it always is.
I know.
We know. I know. So, are you doing anything after this? Maybe you could hang around. Burgess Everett here from Politico.
I'm killing time so he can come on here. I don't know.
Yeah, right. No, we may need you at the.
You can hang out.
We need you at 7:30 because we have someone coming later. We're not sure when he's going to get
exactly.
Right.
Now you know. Now you know. So, I'm sure in covering the Senate and standing there that you don't see Marco Rubio walk by very often because he ain't there. Is his attendance record, which I understand is the worst in the Senate, is it going to... Does anybody care?
This might not be a popular opinion in D.C., but I don't think anyone cares about that, except for there's been a couple votes that he's made a big fuss about and then has missed. One of these was this amendment on the Iran legislation about freeing American hostages and making Iran recognize Israel. He made a big stink about that in the spring, and then he missed the vote on it. So that doesn't look super great. But for the most part, I don't. If you look back at recent presidential campaigns, Obama and McCain, people like that, they missed a ton of votes too. And I don't get. I mean, it's,
what's his answer? What's Rubio's answer to it?
It's a little bit cute. It's I'm running for president, and I've made no secret about that. And while I'm concentrating on this, I'm going to be there when they need me, but when they don't, I'm going to be concentrating on president. And so then when he voted this week, and he came to the floor, and he made a speech about the Veterans Department, and he said if government bureaucrats aren't doing their job, they should get fired. And that was sent out by all the Democrats because it was like, oh, well, you're not doing your job because you're not voting.
Yeah.
So, there are moments when I think you could probably get some interest, but I think it's pretty well established. People who pay attention to this stuff know what his voting record is, right? Like, there's nothing revelatory about that at this point, right?
All right, so on that point, now correct me if I'm missing anybody. Ted Cruz.
Right.
President Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, Bernie Sanders.
Right. That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
So you got 5. What impact does that have? I mean, with 5 members of the Senate, I don't remember ever before that many at one time running for president. But
so
does it slow things down or get in the way?
It feels sometimes like the election is already upon the Senate. I mean, if you look at the schedule, like this week, there was a vote on Tuesday morning, and then they worked a little bit, and then there was a vote on Thursday afternoon, and that was really it. And that's not that much of a departure from the regular Senate schedule, but when Harry Reid was the majority leader, there are almost always Monday votes, a little bit more action on Mondays, that sort of a thing. So it definitely feels like, on the weekends, these guys need to go campaign, right? So McConnell has... designed a schedule that fits for most of them, where they're in Washington Tuesday through Thursday, if they're in Washington at all. Sometimes they skip. Lindsey Graham wasn't there at all this week. I think he's probably thinking, this is do or die time. If I can't get on that main debate stage, this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So they didn't need his vote for anything this week, so it doesn't end up hurting them. But it's something I believe that is on Majority Leader McConnell's mind, which is when are they going to be here, et cetera.
Okay. Now, some of them, at least... Rubio and Paul both they're up for re-election this year, correct?
Rubio has said, I'm not seeking re-election. So that's
total. He's just written it off.
Considered an open seat in Florida. I think he's kind of made this position that having it both ways is not a way for me to succeed.
How about Kentucky?
So Rand Paul is running for both simultaneously.
Can he?
He can. He had the caucus rules in Kentucky changed. He paid for them, $250,000, because there was some concern about how much it would cost to change to a caucus.
Yeah.
And he paid for that. And there's some people that are kind of gently, privately trying to push him to focus on his Senate bid. And I talked to him earlier this week, and he really bristles at this narrative that I'm floundering in the presidential race, so I need to concentrate on the Senate bid. He doesn't have a Democratic opponent, and his polling is good in the Senate, so it's not like he's in danger of losing his seat right now. But at the same time, I think people want him fundraising more for his bid, and they think that his presidential campaign has run out of steam already.
Is there a deadline when he has to decide one or the other?
My sense is the way he's built up his operation in Iowa, for example, like there's no way he would ever drop out before he sees how things go in Iowa. He thinks the polling is soft in states like that. He thinks his organization, which a lot of it has been inherited from his father, who did well in Iowa and did well with libertarian activists. He thinks that he's being underrepresented in the polls. And if you look at the polls, a lot of them have margin of error as 6%, or they poll 500 people. So it's definitely possible that he's doing better than people expect, but the general feeling in D.C. among Republicans is that at some point soon he needs to probably drop the race and concentrate on getting reelected to the Senate.
All right. Okay. Well, Burgess, you better get back there because they'll be showing up pretty soon. You got to be ready to.
Wrong. They're off.
They're off today? No, really?
Yeah,
oh, well, of course it's Friday.
When you want to retire, Bill, you can run for the Senate.
I'm like Paul Ryan. I'm willing to be senator. I'll just put it out there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Burgess, for coming in.
Thank you for
Great work at Politico.com. We'll tell you what the president's up to today when we come back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear. We had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like it back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
All right, President Obama today gets the daily briefing this morning, and then this afternoon he will be delivering remarks at the DNC Women's Leadership Forum, and later attending a DNC roundtable here at the Grand Hyatt Hotel. Our briefing today with Eric Schultz, Deputy Press Secretary at 12:30. Evan McMorris-Santoro here is a friend of Bill in the next
Bill
hour.
Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this. Because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Congratulations, Trey Gowdy. You have just elected Hillary Clinton the next president of the United States. I know that's not what you intended, dude, but I think that's what you ended up doing. Hello, everybody. What do you say? Happy Friday, October 23rd. It's a good day. It's a good day to celebrate. That's why we invited our friend Evan McMorris-Santoro in here for the hour. A friend of Bill, often sitting in this chair, but today he's going to have to be satisfied with sitting on the other side of the table. Evan, nice to see you.
You know, I'm getting used to it being back over here, but you know, I like the power of the chair, the captain's chair.
Evan and I, we hang out in Manchester, New Hampshire. We hang out in Minneapolis.
All the best places.
All the best places.
All the best places. You take me to a hotel ballroom with some stale crackers in it. I take you to a weird college bar where Monday night it's just full of people drinking beer out of plastic cups. It's like a buddy cop movie.
Was Bill able to get his rum and Diet Coke at the?
No, he's drinking beer.
I had a
beer list,
absolutely.
and he's drinking beer.
We've converted you a little bit. We bring people in to make him drink beer.
I mean, we were blending in. I mean, it was this huge bar in New Hampshire. Everybody's outside this big college bar. It's really, it's like as you can imagine it would be like. And we blended right in, like 4 Politico reporters screaming about the Republican forum we just watched. Like all the other kids are yelling the name Kasich out. It's just right there. It's New Hampshire. They're right there. They're backward hats and all.
Well, the thing about what it reminded me of every other a campaign or whatever I've covered, when a couple of reporters get around afterwards to have a drink. And then pretty soon, there are a couple other reporters show up. And then a couple of other pretty soon, you've got like 20 people around.
Yeah, the phone call just goes out. Where are people drinking?
It's like Gremlins. You just start multiplying.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't know who was paying the bill. I just got out of there before anybody did. Before the bill came. Anyhow, good to have you with us, Evan, to
see
join
you.
our team here. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson, of course.
Happy Friday.
We made it. Rogers on the phones and Cyprian Balding. But I've been out drinking a lot with Cyprian too, man. I can't keep up with him.
No, that's the last thing you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes an obligation at some point.
I'd like to go like BP show drinking, like some radio drinking. You guys must get into it. You're just talking about cans and
reverb and mic preamps, man. We'll blow your minds.
Deck, is that what it's called?
And it usually happens at 9 a.m.
Yeah. We usually start drinking pretty early.
And then and then when you yell hard break, and you just get out of it.
That's it. That's how we excuse ourselves.
That's it. Right.
Coming up on a hard break. Gotta
Coming
go.
up on a hard break.
All right, so it's hard to pick out one dumbest question of the day yesterday. I mean, after all, there were 11 hours of dumb questions, but we have decided, Evan, I don't know what you thought, we've decided that the prize goes to Martha Roby. They had to have a woman beat up on a woman, right? So they thought, oh, we can count on her. So she comes up with the most insightful question of the day on the most important issue of the day. The night of the Benghazi hearings, Madam Secretary, after you left the State Department, you went home. And what we want to know is?
Who else was at your home? Were you alone?
I was alone, yes.
The whole night?
Well, yes, the whole night.
I don't know why that's funny. I mean, did you have any in-person briefings? I don't find it funny at all.
I find it funny.
It's pretty funny.
I mean, it's like if we were saying, yes, I was alone. Well, until the male escort came over, right?
Yeah, what's the insinuation of that question?
Yeah.
That Sidney Blumenthal was in the house, like dictating policy from behind. I mean, look, the fact that this is one of the takeaway moments, one of the few takeaway moments, which is this Martha Roby question. This is one of those moments where, if you're Hillary Clinton's campaign, they like October quite a lot. The October's been very good to them.
October's been a good month.
They have watched the Benghazi committee auger into the earth with Kevin McCarthy going on TV and just in one of the truly dumbest political moves I've ever seen. You have you have this committee doing its job. The press is doing a thing. It's happening. It's going on TV. Yeah, it's all crap. It's not true. And so great. So that happens. Then she goes to the debate, cleans up in the debate, does very, very well in the debate.
Yeah.
Comes out of that. Joe Biden leaves and takes some shots at her kind of at the way out, but it was fine. She leaves. I mean, he leaves. It doesn't, and then he leaves the stage, so she doesn't have that to deal with. And then comes this Benghazi hearing, which they prepared for, and she goes in there in 11 hours. She's sitting there, and all you need to know is the last moments of that were a sweaty, haggard-looking Trey Gowdy
says,
and a tired,
right.
but sort of together. Looking Hillary Clinton. I mean, there is no doubt.
Then Gowdy, after the hearing, says we didn't learn anything new.
Right. That's the first thing he says. He says he's asked. And this is a prosecutor, mind you. So he's a prosecutor. He's very skilled at being a prosecutor, and they know what they're supposed to do if there's things like this. And when you're a prosecutor, if you interview a prosecutor, I used to be a court reporter in the courthouse hallway after a testimony. They will have for you the little zinger, like we got this guy, we figured it out. Yeah. He steps to the microphone for the 4-minute press conference, and he's asked, "What did we learn today?" And he says, "I'd have to look at the transcript. I don't know. I don't think we." And this
nailed it.
Right. I mean, this is what happened. I mean, the reality is the narrative of this election has always basically been Hillary Clinton is one of the most prepared candidates that I've ever seen running for president, but she lost once. So it's like, well, maybe something, and so she has to continually sort of test herself and show her way through these situations. But, I wouldn't want to be a Republican member of Congress having to go up against a Clinton in a congressional hearing. I mean, these guys have been doing these hearings. This family has been dealing with this stuff for 30 years.
Yeah. And so if there was one moment for where the Republicans showed their worst face, it seems to me that was Martha Gowdy, Roby, where Hillary, I thought, showed her best. Calm, cool, and yet made a very, very important point, I think, was where they were sort of insinuating that she didn't care about Stevens and the others being killed. Here's Hillary's response.
I would imagine I've thought more about what happened than all of you put together. I've lost more sleep than all of you put together. I have been racking my brain about what more could have been done or should have been done.
I mean, for her, I thought that was a money shot. Yeah. Oh, you clowns up there. Yeah.
I mean, look, she is a poised presidential candidate. That's one of the things that she probably had that teed. I mean, teed up on the way in.
Right.
I mean, look,
well,
part of the thing about this that is so surprising. I mean, we're talking just about politics here about this, and politically, in a political fight that happened yesterday with the Republicans versus Hillary won. That's what happened. But the reality is, right, there are things this committee has found, like the private email account, things that have not been great for Hillary supporters, and not been great for Clinton herself, and not been great for their for their narrative, and are things that have we've seen her poll numbers change and all sort of stuff like this. But the fact is, there comes a point where you have to deliver on these accusations, and this was supposed to be the big. I mean, Trey Gowdy is the guy in the Republican caucus that is, he was tasked with this was supposed to be the moment that they finally turned this email thing into a real thing that really, really injured her candidacy. And when you can't do it, when you have her sitting in front of you for 11 hours with no one else to back, no surrogates to go on TV to back her up, no sound bites to record, just questions coming at her for 11 hours, and you can't do it after that, you have to really take a look at your political strategy, because it's just not successful.
I love the fact when Trey Gowdy started out by saying, I just want to be sure you understand this is not about you, right? Yeah. Well,
I'm not sure I appreciate that Trey Gowdy impression, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure as a reporter I can sign on to that.
South Carolina. All right. He's South Carolina's the best I could do. But Elijah Cummings says, well, Madam Secretary, the Secretary of Defense is not sitting alongside of you, right? The Secretary of Homeland Security is not sitting alongside of you. What do you mean this is not about you? Of course it. Yeah. And Adam Schiff pointed out, they have canceled every other hearing.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been covering
this one.
I mean, if you've been following this all the way up through, this is what you have. You have a situation in which we have Kevin McCarthy doing his thing. We have this. Maybe, I mean, not clear how reliable a witness is, but this guy who worked on the committee who says that it became all about Clinton. Then you have Jen Bendery, friend of the show, who had a great story about all the staff briefings that Gowdy had not attended with all these major figures. And we haven't seen,
Richard Hahn up in New York.
Longer than the Watergate here. I mean, all these statistics that just keep racking up. Longer than Watergate hearings. $4.7 million. Haven't interviewed, George Tenet or anybody else yet. Haven't talked to people that other than Hillary Clinton. This was just what we call in the political punditry business a swing and a miss. Mm-hmm. That's what this was.
I wanted to read one paragraph from the New York Times this morning. Michael Shears, good friend, great reporter. I thought this summed it up beautifully. Billed by Republican leaders of the Select House Committee investigating the Benghazi attacks as a critical moment in its inquiry, the long-awaited appearance by Mrs. Clinton, the leading Democratic presidential candidate, served largely as a replay of highly contested arguments from previous congressional hearings, press examinations, and Sunday morning talk shows. It's a rehash, right? There was nothing. Well, and Elijah Cummings made that point over and over again.
The chairman of the committee himself said there's nothing new. I mean, that's it. I mean, like I said, there are questions here. I mean, I think that people who are voters should want to know more about this email thing, should want to know more about some of these decisions that she made, should want to know why she wants to keep things, this sort of knee-jerk Clinton world protecting, self-protection system can be dangerous. I mean, we've seen it have caused problems for Bill Clinton in the past. So, these are real questions that people should wonder about while they're deciding who they're going to vote for president. But if it comes to this particular battle, this particular pitched battle, Hillary walks out tall, Trey Gowdy walks out looking much smaller.
Now, you mentioned that she has had a good October so far, but today is the day that's going to clear the path for her. You've probably...
Breaking news.
Yes.
Breaking news. Lincoln Chafee has dropped out of the Democratic race for president.
He was going to make the announcement at noon,
but now it's leaked out. He is dropping out of the race.
It was going to be at noon. So you had an early knowledge of this.
Yeah, he tweeted this morning that he was going to have a major statement at noon about the future of his presidential campaign, which we assumed we knew what was going to be, but now it's leaked out.
Yeah,
That's what
gone.
happens.
He's out.
It's
think
funny that we're talking about like bad TV performances because that's another thing that's what Lincoln
Holy
Chafee.
cow.
I mean, Lincoln Chafee's debate performance was so bad that you had that interview with Wolf Blitzer, which if your listeners can go on YouTube and find it, where Wolf Blitzer is like, "I've known you for years, Senator Chafee. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Right? Yeah.
You're embarrassing yourself." Lincoln Chafee. I thought it was interesting. He talked about, the metric system, which I thought was kind of interesting. And, he's like, he's an interesting political figure. I mean, he knows a lot of stuff.
And he's had a good career. I mean, he was mayor, he was governor, he was senator. I mean, and he did not make a fool of himself. He's a smart guy, but boy, that night he was just, well, come on, my daddy just died and I just got to the Senate, right?
Can I just say something that this political impression theater, I did not know this was something that you had going.
I don't.
I got Trey Gowdy, I got a Lincoln Chafee. This is amazing. We need to do an episode in which I just hold up, I pull up Alden's name. And Bill Press does an
Bill has to
impression.
go with it. This is great.
It's incredible.
That was some kind of Lincoln Chafee.
It was amazing, Lincoln Chafee. It was like he was in the room.
I don't know. I don't usually do this. It's just I don't know. You brought it out in me or something. All right.
So all right. Okay.
But I'm thinking, so think of the debate stage. I'm not going to do my Bernie Sanders.
Come on.
Think of the debate stage next time. Right? It's going to be Bernie and Hillary and Martin O'Malley.
If off to the side. Yeah, I mean this is the thing. There's not much, and there are 5 more debates scheduled.
Yeah,
right.
So it definitely would be. I mean, so we'll see how long Martin O'Malley can hang on. His numbers have not gone anywhere. His fundraising isn't that great. So it could just be 4 debates between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton at this point.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that actually could change the debate dynamics quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, They had to find time for Webb, had to find time for Chafee.
Right.
Now, I mean, I think a lot of people, I personally would love to see a 2-hour debate between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. I think that'd be really, really interesting.
Well, I think Bernie Sanders would too.
Yeah, I mean, they felt good about their debate performance. I think he probably will do a bit more preparation than he did for the first one.
Yeah.
But I think that this was a guy who had. I mean, I was in Vegas for the debate, and he had a lot. He felt really good about it. There was a lot of great moments for him. You saw his fundraising numbers go up. His polls are still tight. This is a campaign that believes that the more time they get to talk, the better it is for them, and which is extremely rare in presidential politics, by the way. That's an important thing people need to know. Someone like Jeb Bush, they don't want him talking very much because if he does, he says stupid things like that thing about Supergirl yesterday.
Oh my God!
Yeah. But or Hillary Clinton, if she keeps talking, she'll talk around a bunch of stuff, But Bernie Sanders believes the more he talks, the better he does. So a debate stage like that, I think, would be an interesting situation.
Got it. 21 minutes after the hour, and the latest numbers in Iowa. Not good news for Donald Trump. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. You want to do an impression of any of our presidential candidates?
Or any of the guests on the show? Do an impression of me.
Give it a shot, Bill. Why not?
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Taking your emails at BillPressShow.com. Don't worry, we'll keep all of our emails on a private server in Chappaqua, New York. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go with Pam. Pam is calling from Evan McMorris-Santoro here in studio from BuzzFeed as a friend of Bill. Pam is another friend from Charlestown, New Hampshire. New Hampshire. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Bill. I was watching that last night, and I think the male reporters and the male press better realize the part that got to me, and I think is going to get a lot more, is when she couldn't catch her breath, and Trey Gowdy's like, I'll give you 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
That made me cry. And I'm telling you, if these reporters think that we're going to all of a sudden go to Republican because we can't trust Clinton, I don't want these men telling me what to do with my body, my life. I'm telling you, these reporters better start waking up because there are more women voters than men. And that made me cry last night. And I bet you I wasn't the only woman watching.
I understand
why
why
you're confusing reporters with members of Congress.
Yeah, those were not reporters. They were members of Congress who were beating up on her. I don't think the male reporters were.
It was reported Friday that Trey Gowdy had to return 3 Super PAC fundraisers over that ad. So where was that mentioned? There's a lot more going on, and all they want is the juicy tidbits. But as a woman last night watching, that is the part that is going to come out, and that's all I wanted to say.
All right, you got it, Pam. Well, I do think what we saw were a lot of people, and one woman, Martha Roby, beating up on a woman for 11 hours. I don't see how that helps the Republican Party.
Yeah, I think the key here is there's a lot of these moments now. I had many Democratic staffers email me saying, look, there's Hillary sympathies at an all-time peak right now, which is great, big for them.
Yeah. And
so Pam embodies it.
She does, and I think Trey Gowdy, therefore, accomplished the exact opposite of what they intended to accomplish with this select committee. Yeah, there you go. Evan McMorris-Santoro will be joined by Dave Jamieson from Huffington Post right after this quick break.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
Crim Advisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada! What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that crimadvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. crimadvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
crimadvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania. Fracking pollutes our oceans. Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
This is the Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour now. Here we go. It is the Bill Press Show, indeed, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, where we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Government Employees, the good men and women of the AFGE under President J. David Cox, keeping all of the federal agencies running on a daily basis, doing great work. We salute them, thank them for the support of the program, and invite you to check out their website at afge.org. And want to say a quick shout out to all of our friends up in Eureka, California, listening on KGOE. By the end of the day, after thanks to United Airlines, I'm going to be in Eureka, California, and for the big program tomorrow at the Sequoia Conference Center, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be talking about national politics, California politics, the Democratic primary, the Republican primary. Just have a big political town hall to benefit the Humboldt County libraries, public libraries. And we'd love to see you tomorrow afternoon. So, if I'm traveling all the way the hell out there, You better show up. Want to see you tomorrow afternoon. Go to, here's the number to call for tickets, 707-269-1991. Or just go to HumboldtCountyLibraryFoundation.org and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow afternoon. Evan McMorris, do you want to go to Eureka? Come on.
I'd love to go to Eureka. That sounds great.
It's a good town.
That sounds beautiful.
Up there in Redwood Country.
Yes, I've never been up there, actually. I've always wanted to go.
Beautiful part of the world.
Yeah.
Evan McMorris-Santoro from Buzzfeed here as a friend of Bill. We're now joined by Dave Jamieson, labor reporter for the Huffington Post. Hello, Dave. Good to see you.
Good to be here, Bill.
Yeah. So you've been working on this big story. This came out about your average Amazon employee, right? I mean, the way they turn stuff out is amazing.
It is.
So what'd you find out? Where'd you go? And tell us about it.
So I wrote a story. It's primarily about one temp worker, a guy who actually died on the job at an Amazon warehouse in Chester, Virginia, a couple hours south of here. And the story's about the temp system and the way it works. Amazon just announced this week that they're going to be bringing on 100,000 seasonal workers this coming fall for what they call peak. That's when everyone's going crazy, Black Friday and all that stuff. And they have 90,000 normal full-time workers. So that gives you an idea of
they're
how
doubling their
reliant
workforce, more than doubling.
Yes, that's how reliant they are on temps. And the way it works in these places is a lot of these temps come in and they're told that if they do really well, you might make it through and afterwards you're going to become a full-time employee. We're going to hire you on. And so it's almost like a competition inside these places. And this guy I wrote about had came on during peak. He made it through peak.
Last year?
This was 2013, and he passed away on the job. It was a sudden cardiac death. Hard to say exactly medically what happened or sort of what role the work pace may have played in it. But because he was a temp, there was really no safety net behind him. He had no life insurance, no health insurance. So the family was left in a tough spot, and kind of the story's sort of about the precarious nature of the work and the way a lot of these workers basically get on a treadmill in this warehouse where they're trying to make their rates in hopes of scoring a full-time job. And it's kind of it's emblematic, I think, of a lot of what how our service economy works right now in the low wage areas.
Right.
Temping is huge now. It's it's not just Amazon. Walmart's at warehouses work in similar way. In terms of these companies, they just want to outsource the work to some outside agency. This guy didn't even work for Amazon. He spent all day in an Amazon warehouse picking Amazon products. He was a picker. You walk 15 miles a day in these places picking orders. He worked for a temp company that you've probably never heard of, Integrity Staffing Solutions. But there's a company that brings in thousands and thousands of workers for Amazon, and so it's sort of it raises a question of who do these workers really belong to? Where's the corporate responsibility? Who answers to this person? And so, it's a sad story, but I think it says a lot. And this isn't necessarily even about Amazon. It's about, kind of our consumer economy and the service economy in particular, and the way things work now, where a lot of workers are kind of disposable at the end of the day.
Wow. It is a whole different, I don't know whether it's underground, but it's just this whole temp economy. So I would imagine these temporary workers are not getting benefits.
Right. Yeah. This guy had no
health care,
benefits.
no pension, no nothing.
You're not getting sick days or anything like that. So a lot of people come in to work sick, and there's a lot of stress surrounding it because you don't know if you're going to have a job tomorrow. I interviewed people who said they showed up one day and their badges no longer got them into the building, and that's how they learned they were laid off. So it can be a pretty cold system.
Right.
Yeah. And just not knowing whether you're gonna have that job.
Are they paid a living wage, or well, let's start with a minimum wage.
Yes, they're paid above the minimum wage. This guy was making around $12 an hour working the graveyard shift. So not great money. It's probably a living wage if it's just you. But he had 3 kids. He had 3 boys, and a wife. So obviously it's not a living wage when you're trying to support a family there.
How can you plan a career, or I mean, maybe not planning a career, how could you just even keep up with your family obligations, Evan? With,
I mean, it's
just a temporary job.
I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because I'm old enough to remember when the service economy was going to be the next economy. That was going to be the next middle class. They would tell people that the manufacturing jobs are going away, and these jobs are going. Other kinds of jobs are going away, and we're going to have the service economy now. And it seems like as the more and more we get into that, we have shifted over to things like we got Uber drivers. And I know people who have done very well with Uber driving. Been able to slide it into the rest of their life and made good money off of it, but. Things like this Amazon temping thing. I mean, none of these are like career type jobs that they're offering at this point. I mean, you said there's room for advancement in the Amazon thing to a degree, right? You get into is the full time job at Amazon a good job?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a decent job. The issue is there's like this 2-tier system inside these places where you have people on the bottom, like the guy I wrote about, who are like scratching to get the full-time stable job, competing with one another. So that's kind of the issue here. And I mean, in terms of like, you're talking about the service economy being the next thing. What's interesting about a lot of these warehouses is they end up in places where there's not a lot going on economically. And I've talked to people in places like Tennessee where there's a bunch of Amazon warehouses, and I was interviewing, one family about how they ended up there, and it was because she used to have this good textile job. What happened to textile jobs? They're gone. They're disappearing. So what was replaced by that was an Amazon warehouse, and that's where she ended up, earning less money and in a less stable environment.
But you were saying, so it's not just Amazon. This is Walmart.
No, I mean, in terms of, first off, just the temping. I mean, you go stay in a Hyatt hotel now. The housekeeper cleaning your room may not even work for Hyatt. She may work for some fly-by-night staffing agency you've never heard of, and she's making less than a direct hire, and she's not getting benefits, and the job isn't stable. But there's shades of this all over. I mean, you talk about, in retail stores now, working in the brick-and-mortar places, you may work for the company, but there's all this stuff with like on-call scheduling where you're at the beck and call. A lot of this, whether it's temping or whether it's that, or really whether it's like Uber, it's sort of about maximum flexibility for the employer, kind of at the expense of stability for the worker.
Well, like Amazon and Walmart, this is the question I always have about this. They say that these kind of things, you have to have these kind of things, right? This kind of system, keep their prices so low. Is that? I mean, have you been able to uncover whether that's true in any of the research that you've done? I mean, is this just pure profiteering, or just baked into their business model based on how they do things?
I think if you want to be as cheap as Amazon, absolutely. Like you have to cut every corner you can, basically. I mean, it's fast. Amazon. I stopped shopping on Amazon like last year. I like shut my account down and stuff just because I like write critical stuff about them, and so it was like I shouldn't be shopping there. So like I'm still like looking for the cheapest place to buy stuff online naturally, right? And so sometimes I end up on it's on eBay, buying a new product on eBay. I bought stuff on eBay. It's like a little more than on Amazon. It arrives to my doorstep in an Amazon Prime box directly from Amazon. So what's going on there? Well, somebody with a Prime account is listing it on eBay. They sell it to me for like $1 more, and they ship it directly to me, with free shipping. And they clear 50 cents or $1 off of it, and I guess it's worth this guy's time to do that. But that just shows you like how low Amazon's prices are. And if you want to be that cheap, and if you want to be that fast in terms of getting people stuff, and a lot of this is about bringing one-day shipping like all over the place, you are gonna cut every corner you can.
But this seems to be the whole scam for employers to avoid all the responsibility toward their workforce, right? They just outsource it.
Yeah, that way
temp
you don't.
agencies pay again, no benefit,
no payroll taxes,
dirt wage, no payroll taxes, no benefits,
no workers'
no
comp
nothing,
to worry about,
no unions, right? And it's just this workforce where they bear no responsibility to it, and these jobs they're there one day and gone the next day. They don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I talked to one woman who got laid off, and she said, the staffing firm said, "Oh, you should talk to Amazon about it." And Amazon said, "Oh, you need to talk to the staffing firm about it." And that's, it's kind of emblematic of the relationship. You just sort of buck past.
Do these people that work at these, do they just work? I'm sorry, you need to.
I was just going to say, we're going to take a break. You make me feel guilty. I just got a book from Amazon that arrived yesterday. Oh, God. What was I supporting? I'm supporting the slave economy I didn't even know about. Thanks, Dave.
Sorry, Bill. Enjoy your book.
Dave Jamieson here from Huffington Post with Evan McMorris-Santoro from Buzzfeed. Yeah. Do you feel as guilty as I do? Give us a call, 866-55-PRESS.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes before the top of the hour with Dave Jamieson from Huffington Post, Evan McMorris-Santoro from BuzzFeed, friend of Bill. Where are you going on the road next?
I am planning on maybe going down to South Carolina, do a little sniffing around down there.
Following President Lindsey Graham?
Yes, following President. No, I mean, I've been on the Bernie beat. I do a lot of work on Bernie, and he's doing some interesting things on in South Carolina.
Does he
I saw Bernie on the way in here, actually, coming out of his place on the Hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's he looking?
He was looking good. He was looking ready to go.
Did you tell him where
he
you
yelled
were?
at the car, "Hey, Senator!" He said, "Hey."
You tell him where you were heading? You should have.
You should.
As far as you know, Bill, I did. Yes. And
Okay.
Well,
good.
this is one of
very
those things.
excited,
The
too.
other thing about what's funny about him running for president is that you have this idea. So Marco Rubio is having to constantly sort of say like, yeah, I'm a senator, but I never go anymore because I'm running for president.
Right.
Senators will not miss a day. I mean, his campaign aides will tell you how frustrating it can be that he has to be here every time the Senate is open. He's going to vote, going to do his Senate job.
It was funny
while
to
he's doing
see
the
him
other thing.
coming out. It was like a very Bernie thing. There was one guy outside Secret Service or whatever,
Yep.
I guess, and just Bernie coming out.
he doesn't have Secret Service
Did he have a
yet,
coffee?
but-
Not yet.
Did he have coffee in his hand?
No, he just had his briefcase and he was locking his door, and it was just like Bernie going to work.
Was it like a mesh? like a mesh, like hemp bag?
Bernie going to work.
That's it.
Oh, well, now, so
I got a banana. I got a sandwich.
Does the senator have a ground operation or any operation in South Carolina? Because the
does.
rap is he might do well in Iowa, maybe even win. He's probably going to win New Hampshire, but once he gets to South Carolina, boom, it's all over.
Well, things have changed quite dramatically this week with Joe Biden dropping out, because the narrative up until now was you had potentially Bernie winning Iowa, Hillary winning New Hampshire, Joe winning South Carolina, and then you got like a, or the other way around. Sorry, Hillary winning Iowa, Bernie winning New Hampshire, Joe winning South Carolina. And then sort of you came out of the opening three in the Super Tuesday with nobody winning. That's different now. Joe Biden's out, but he's doing a lot in South Carolina. I mean, this is what I'm going to go down there and see if I can find out, figure out what the operation looks like, how robust it is. And now with Biden out, there's a lot of people who were looking to do stuff for Joe Biden that are now in South Carolina not doing it.
Who are holding back, waiting to see what Joe decided to do.
Right. Well, it raises an interesting question actually with Dave here, because one of the things that Bernie's hoping is that the sort of like rank and file labor will stick with him, even while the labor leaders seem to go with Clinton.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of that? I mean, do you think that now that we're looking at this Hillary, we were just talking earlier, like basically this killer month for Clinton. I mean, she's just crushing it. This is exactly what anybody would want this month that she's having. Do you think that might change some of that? I mean, what's your sense of sort of where that divide is?
I think there is this sense, like Bernie has lots of appeal when it comes to the rank and file, and there's been, locals of certain unions that have gone ahead and endorsed the guy because they love him.
And
I was talking with somebody,
and the nurses union nationwide, but otherwise the labor leaders have been going with Hillary.
I was talking with somebody at an IBEW Electro Workers local up in Massachusetts last week. They came out and endorsed Bernie because they remembered the guy being on their picket line like in 2003, right? I don't think people remember Hillary, being out on their picket line. Not to say she's never done that. So people really, they have like, a lot of love for Bernie. But when it comes to union leadership, it's a different story. I mean, obviously they're a little more establishment. And administrations, whoever they end up being, they remember endorsements, right? And so it'd be pretty ballsy to go out and throw your weight behind Bernie, knowing in general the likelihood of say Hillary becoming the nominee.
Right. That Hillary's decision to oppose TPP or to flip-flop on TPP had a lot to do with the pressure she was getting from labor unions.
Yeah, this was tremendous. They were all over TPP from the beginning, and I think they made her squirm a bit.
Which makes you wonder about how Joe Biden would have done, because he's always had strong labor support, and we know also the head of the firefighters, Harold Schaitberger, was ready to really step up. I think be the first union to endorse Joe as soon as he said yes, I'm running. But that would have been a real problem for him. No,
I guess I'm just not sure. I think Joe Biden would have definitely played for that. But I'm just sort of confused by this, because I don't understand. You've got a guy, Bernie Sanders, and I'm not. I don't know. But I mean, you got a guy, Bernie Sanders, who is just 100% labor guy. Yeah. You come out of this TPP fight, this trade fight, where unions are like, we're serious. If you did not stand with us on this trade thing, where you're done, that's it, you're out. And there appears to be no evidence of that actually happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why, like the AFL-CIO, they don't endorse in a primary. It's like very rare, and the reason they don't is let the process run its course, and you're not going to piss off a lot of your members, right?
Well, that's what that's what Richard Trumka's position is. But some of the unions are not listening to him, they're endorsing.
Yeah, and the AFL, I think, wants to keep them in line. But unions can do their own thing, right? They don't answer to the AFL. CEO.
All right, and we'll see what they do. Some's already acted, some still to go. Dave Jamieson, always good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, guys.
All right, say hello to Bernie on your way back.
He's going to be at work for quite a while.
Yeah, and you have a good time in South Carolina. Come back and tell us all about it.
I will.
I'm the McMorris-Santoro. I'll be back. Wrap things up with a quick parting shot.
Connect with the Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is the Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. We started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
As an American taxpayer, I'd like to lead a taxpayer revolt. I don't mind paying my fair share of taxes, but I don't want to see my tax dollars pissed away like they were yesterday on a Salem witch hunt. There's no way the taxpayer dollars ought to be used to fund 11 hours of a totally political, totally partisan attack machine. But of course, it backfired on Republicans. They came across as mean, angry, totally politically motivated, and just plain dumb. Hillary Clinton came across as calm, collected, informed, and in charge. You know, Democrats don't really have to worry about making Republicans look bad. They do a good enough job of that all by themselves. Hey, folks, have a great weekend. Come back and see us on
Bill
Monday.
Press Show.
Yeah.